right, welcome everyone to the Juxtaposition.
Hi, people.
As you know, it is February, which is the month of love, and we have started a new series called Love is Beyond the State of Being in Love. And the reason why we came up with this title is that love is not just the physical, emotional feeling, but it's beyond that state of that fantasy feeling. It's more than that. It's deeper than that. And so as we journey through February, we're interviewing 4 couples, beautiful couples that display what love is, and they explain what marriage is about and their journey. And so as we continue to show these couples, just journey with them, and hopefully everyone learns something new. I've learned something new, I think.
I've learned a lot from them. Different couples, from 1 year to 31 years. So that's a lot of knowledge and wisdom.
So that's it.
I learned a lot too.
Oh, well, yes. So as you know, this is the Juxtaposition, and this is Love is Beyond the State of Being in Love.
Enjoy.
I ain't gonna expose. I'm not like that. I'm not a snitch. Virginity. It's a hush hush topic.
Yeah.
They love me.
Let's see if your parents raised you.
It's deeper than the physical.
What up, fam? Welcome back to the Juxtaposition, everyone.
Okay. Introduce yourselves and how long have you guys been together, and tell us your story.
That's a lot going on there. Wow.
Let's start again. Introduce yourself.
My name is Delvin, Delvin Rondon.
And my name is Karissa Rondon.
How long have you guys been together? And tell us your story.
We've been together for 2 years.
Well, yeah, fully in total, we've been together for about 2 years.
Yeah.
We've been married for just over a year.
Yeah.
Wait, our story. You want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, I can start.
Oh, no,
actually.
yeah, you should start.
So essentially, what happened was there was a fire where I was living, and I moved to a family's house, but it was a little bit crowded, so a place opened up, a room opened up at her house, and they just said I can stay there for as long as I needed, so I went over there. That's how we met. Yeah. Yeah,
because our family, or me and the rest of my family, didn't even know Delvin at the time, but we were connected through our pastors at Christian Center Church. So then he moved in, and that's how we met. So, very interesting way to meet someone for the first time living in a house together. So he moved in. We're telling you like our full story, right? Okay, so he moved in, and he had moved in at the beginning of December, I think, or like part the way through December. And at the time, we were actually kind of both in complicated relationships. And so the reason that's relevant is because it allowed us to kind of get to know each other in a very platonic way when he first moved in. And we were able to just start to build a friendship just because he lived there, so we were all hanging out like him with the rest of my family as well. So we just started to get to know each other. And then, do you want to say anything or do you want me to keep going?
No, you're way better at telling this than I am. Like, honestly, like, all power to you. Just keep doing it. Yeah.
So then basically what happened was around the same time, unknowingly, we ended kind of the relationships that we had. And shortly after that, we were having just a lot of great conversations together and started recognizing that we were starting to have feelings for each other. But at the time, this was not something either of us was looking for. We were both very much wanting to enter into a time of singleness and just focus on God. And so we started, he was still living with us at the time because his apartment, wasn't even available to move into. And so we kind of had to navigate, okay, we're starting to feel this way about each other, but we don't think this is where God is leading us. And so we just tried to set boundaries and be careful. But what happened was we obviously kept getting to know each other and just recognized that our feelings continued to grow, and the more that we learned about each other, the more we liked each other. So we decided to tell some of our closest friends and mentors just to get their feedback on it, assuming they would think we were crazy and tell us to chill. But everyone we spoke with was like very supportive and like kind of go for it, you know, see where it goes.
Yeah, because I think it was more so they had a full picture of who we were before and during the process as well. So I think that really it really helped them, like, just help us motivate us, or motivate us, or would it be motivate? No. Or
just give us permission, like feel comfortable with
yeah,
getting to know each other in that way.
Yeah, because it was still like a little weird. Like, we didn't really want to go into a relationship, but we felt like we were heading in that direction. So we just wanted, you know, opinions from other people to be
to make sure we weren't like should we just like stop fully, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one thing I should mention is like during this time of us getting to know each other and having these conversations, God was really working in both of our lives and in both of our hearts. So at that
really
time,
powerful ways too.
Yeah. So I was in a season where I had been like really far from God for several months, almost for a year actually. And around the time when I met Delvin, God was really starting to knock on the door of my heart and just be like, okay, come back to me, and like really trying to teach me things that I had been struggling with. And the incredible thing that was part of us getting to know each other was how God used Delvin in bringing me back to him. And it's not like all credit to Delvin, like it's not like Delvin did it, but God really did choose to use Delvin to help me just open up about what I was struggling with and like things about myself and beliefs that I had and like identity issues that I had never really been able to talk to somebody about before. And all of those things were part of us kind of falling for each other because God was doing so much, you know? So it was like, okay, the more time that passed, we just felt like this has to be from God, you know? Because, I mean, I think for us at least, that's what we would want in a relationship, is like, this person is helping me become closer to God and grow in my relationship with him. Do you want to touch on like your own experience in terms of?
Yeah, it was very similar, and I wasn't really looking for a relationship, but I was more so trying to build a relationship with God much more intentionally. But he really used Karissa to just draw me in as well. Again, wasn't fully her, but I was already in the process of being drawn closer to God at the time, and he just used her as part of that process as well, and it just kind of catapulted me into, you know, just closer to God, you know, just into that relationship that I was desiring. And yeah, it was just like so amazing, you know. It was something that I was really desiring, and for so long there was just something that was almost lacking, but through time God was just pulling me in closer. And this was like just already before we had met. God was already pulling me closer to him, and yeah, it just kind of progressed into our relationship, right?
Yeah, so there came a point as we were getting to know each other that we got like some really good feedback from our mentors specifically in terms of like where our relationship was headed. For him, that's Pastor John, who was the person who was actually, him and his wife, Pastor Jesse, are the reason that we met. And so this really good feedback actually like terrified us because we had so many fears about going into another relationship. And so I think at that moment it became very real, like what we were opening ourselves up to. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, do we keep going or just like?
Yeah, we were kind of hoping that people would say, yeah, don't do this, you know?
Because we just did not think that was where we were at. Like,
well, specific people at least.
Yeah. And so it came to that point, right? And basically what happened is we came together to talk about how we were feeling, and I was honestly ready to just run. I was ready to shut off my heart. But God really, actually, Delvin initiated it. He was like, you know, I feel like I just need to share with you just everything about my past and all the things that like basically deepest, darkest secrets type of thing. And so he chose to share with me everything that he either never told anybody before, or like, you know, very few people know about him, because those are the things that, you know, would naturally make him afraid to open up to somebody. And so I chose to do the same thing, and I was able to tell him things about myself that I didn't even think I would tell anybody ever, certainly not a guy that I was interested in. And it was really incredible, the freedom that it brought to us, because we were just so ashamed of these things and so scared for somebody to know them, and yet there we sat in front of each other. We heard, we listened, and we were still there. You know, like neither of us ran, neither of us freaked out, and like it was really beautiful, because after I shared all these things with Delvin, I remember he just stood up and just opened his arms and just hugged me. And it was like such a beautiful picture of Jesus and how he responds to us in the midst of our mess and like our deepest guilt and shame. And so from that moment forward, I would say, well, already we had such an open and honest communication, but that moment really allowed us. And from then on, it was just very fast how everything developed, because we were just so open with each other. And at least for me personally, I learned that like when you have that openness with somebody and you're willing to be like painfully honest, your relationship can grow incredibly quickly, in a very real way, and not in a way that's based on just feelings, but truly getting to know a person deeply, the good and the bad, and caring for them and like falling in love with them with all of that, like the full picture of who they are. And so after just 2 months of getting to know each other in that way, Delvin asked me to be his girlfriend. So that was a lot faster than we thought it was going to happen. And there was definitely people in our lives that were like, wow, this is quick, you know, because especially for people who knew about the previous relationships we'd been in and stuff, it was definitely a shock. Do you want to say anything about that?
You're doing a good job. Okay. Like honestly, I enjoy listening to you tell this story, because every time I tell this story, I will tell small details and then I'll jump back and say, oh, I forgot that. And then I'll add more details as I go along, and it just sounds terrible. So I just really enjoy listening to you tell the story.
Okay, well, just interject if you have something to say. But he's the one who decided, though, for us to, you know, start dating at that point, because I honestly thought he wasn't going to ask me for like a couple more months. But he asked, and I freaked out, and I was like, wait, like right now? We're doing this now? Like, you want to now? I was like, okay. I was like, can we pray? I felt so bad after like how freaked out he must have been, like, oh my gosh, she's not going to say yes. But I was like, okay, let's pray about it. So we like sat there. We prayed. I hadn't answered him or anything. I'm like, let's just pray. So we prayed, and honestly, like, I was just flooded with this peace, like, in an instant. Like, I just was like, and I was like, okay, this is it. All right, you know? And so I looked at him, and at that point, I remember you told me, like, you thought I just wasn't going to, he thought I wasn't going to give him an answer that night at that point. But I just looked at him, and I was like, yes. He's like, what? I'm like, yes, okay, you know? So that started our period of dating. And then 2 weeks later, COVID started. So that was March of 2020 when we started dating, March 1st, and literally exactly 2 weeks after we started dating, COVID hit and lockdown started. And at the time, Delvin was actually still living in my home. And so the amazing thing was that we were able to be extremely transparent with my family and specifically my parents about all of this, and they were super supportive and excited about it. So we were able to also be open with them about boundaries and just, you know, how to handle living in the same home, because obviously that's not something you would plan or, you know, intentionally try to do in a relationship. But yeah, so we ended up getting to spend so much time together.
Like a ridiculous amount of time.
Like all our time.
Yeah, because there was like the beginning of COVID, everything was closed.
Yeah, like everything was
this
closed.
This is like maximum lockdown.
Yeah, everyone's staying home. You're not seeing anybody who doesn't live with you. And so it was like, obviously don't love COVID, but God definitely used it because our relationship was able to be expedited in a way that just wouldn't have happened if we had been doing school and work and all these things and like on a normal basis. And so this allowed us to have devotions every day together and spend hours just talking and getting to know each other more deeply and talking about the future and our dreams and our goals and where we saw God leading us. And so I remember just like a few months into dating, we already knew that we wanted to marry each other, which is not something. I know Delvin for sure did not think he was going to know that quickly. I remember you told me, you're like, I need about a year. After a year of dating, then I'll know. You remember you told me that? And I was like, all right. I didn't think it was going to take me that long, but I would wait. But then just a couple months in, we just knew already, and so that led to, a few more months of dating, going through a lot, because obviously, if you think back to like when lockdown first started, there's a lot of emotions and things we all went through. So we kind of got to experience like a lot of highs and lows that you probably would take years to experience with someone if the world was normal at the time. And so that definitely allowed us to get to know each other also, like not just the good, but also like when we're stressed, when we're sad, when we're depressed, when we're upset, when we're, anxious, frustrated, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's not like we can go anywhere.
Yeah.
We were forced to be in the same place.
And actually, our entire dating experience was during COVID, during lockdown, and then do you want to talk about that proposal?
Yeah, I proposed to you. Yeah. I did that.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
We're gonna say, how did you know that she was the one, and then how did you know that he was the one?
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah, so I feel like for me, a lot of things lined up first. I knew that I wanted a woman who absolutely loved God, and God was like number one in her life, So that was like number one, had to be in the woman I was going to marry. And of course, that was Karissa. And there was a few other things, like honestly, just our future as well. I'm stealing it, I'm not stealing it, We talked about this before, but anyway.
Stealing my answer.
I'm not stealing your answer. Like I knew that this was very important to me. Like I wanted to remain in the Jane and Finch community specifically and serve the people here, right? In, I don't know the exact capacity, but just I know I wanted to be here and spend most of my time with the people here, serving them. And that's what Karissa wanted to do. And that was just amazing to me, That's definitely something that I wanted my wife to do with me, just to really immerse ourselves in the community and just really grow in this community, with the community as well, right? Just really be a part of it and serve it as much as we can. And I think one of the other things as well was just the openness, right? I grew a lot, definitely, through my relationship with Karissa, in terms of just being open. I've learned a lot in terms of how to be open, and still difficult. I still have a challenging time being open, but we've discussed that a whole bunch of times, and I tell her, like, you've got to pull certain things out of me, but I'm still working on trying to be a better communicator, because of course it takes two for something to work like that, right? I can't just ask her to pull all the answers out of me every single time, but yeah, like we were just really building on the communication, and it was just really beautiful, just being completely open and honest with every single portion of our life, every corner. There were no hidden secrets. And it was just amazing to even experience that, right? And then honestly, one of the things that I personally had a challenge with was finances as well. This is something that I told her, like, I needed to talk about, because I needed to make sure that the financial side of our relationship was very clear. It wasn't really vague, and I needed to know what it was going to look like for the both of us beforehand. And that, I think that was kind of like the final step for me, where we were kind of on the same page. Well, we were on the same page, and I was like, okay, then I can ask you to marry me, you know, like everything, every box is checked for me. I'm good to go. And then, yeah, I knew. Yeah, and then I just knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn. For me, I mean, it's definitely a similar answer. One thing for me was just like, I felt like he really became my best friend very quickly. And I always wanted to be able to say, like, you know, I'm marrying my best friend, like, you know, this is my best friend. And the way that kind of like happened, the way I was able to see him as my best friend was just because like he was the first person I was ever able to be like fully myself with, and not just like, you know, one part of myself fully, but like every single different part of my personality, my character, the good and the bad, my silliness and my seriousness, and like everything in between. I was just able to show him like every side of myself, and he got me, you know, like he actually got me. He didn't make me feel weird or, yeah, like I felt like he actually understood me, you know? And I felt like, I think that, like, looking back, I realized how important that is if you're going to marry someone. Like, what if you can't be, like, a certain side of yourself, like the silly side of yourself, or the side that likes this type of music, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different parts to ourselves, and, like, it was amazing to be able to, like, show him all these different sides and, like, be understood. And also so many of them, like, not that we're not even close to the same person, but just that, like, we could find camaraderie on so many of those things, you know? So not just that you were okay with those things about me, but like we got along in those ways, you know? Yeah. So that was really cool. And then, yeah, a huge thing for me was the future thing as well, because I've known for a few years that I wanted to stay in this community as well. And I definitely thought it was going to be very hard to find someone who either grew up here and wanted to stay here, or someone who was going to be willing to move here and stay here. So when I found out that he, like, his dream was to actually live here and work with, especially, like, young men, I thought that was so, like, that was back when we were just getting to know each other, but that really stood out to me. I was like, okay, you know, because, like, I barely hear anyone say that, you know, and for me, I feel I want to work with women and children, so it was like such a perfect combination of just our passions and who we want to work with, and just knowing like we both wanted to have a home that was open, you know, we feed people, we bring people in, like we have people at our house all the time, they feel comfortable with us, you know, and like just that the hospitality would also be like, you know, a big thing as well. So yeah, I think like those were some of the biggest things that helped me, just know that he was definitely the one for me. Yeah, I don't know if I left anything out, but I think those are the most important things.
Yeah, I think you got a lot of it.
And I mean, he's just wonderful, so, you know, it didn't make it that hard to accept.
Being married, how has your relationship with God changed?
How has it changed? I think for myself, my relationship with God has definitely grown, just because I feel like we hold each other accountable a lot more. Before, I didn't really have anyone who would, you know, tell me, hey, we're going to church today. You know what I mean? When I'm feeling down or sad or tired or whatever the case is. And like a lot of beautiful moments have actually come from that, and like significant conversations with people where I just felt like I didn't want to go a specific day or meet with someone on a particular day, and Karissa's encouraged me to do that. And like, again, like it's grown my relationship with God like so much through that, right? Just because I have her keep me accountable in that way. And yeah, I think we're also just continually pushing each other to spend more time with God and grow that relationship, whether that be waking up in the morning or noticing, hey, you know, you don't look like you're doing so well. Maybe you should take a break and like actually spend some time praying, because that's probably what you need right now more than anything. So just to have that that support and motivation and just accountability, it has really helped me personally grow in my relationship with God. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think overall it has definitely grown my relationship with God to be married. I fully agree with what Delvin said about the accountability piece and like just helping each other, like pushing each other to grow. But I also wanted to mention, like, hasn't been like a steady incline the whole entire time, because we have fallen into seasons where, obviously we haven't been married that long, but we have fallen into times, like periods of time where we're both just very much in the habit of staying up late and then waking up late. And, you know, we are only just getting out of the house on time, and we're not having devotions, and like we're watching way too much TV and not praying, and, you know, like putting so many things first, like before God.
We've also gotten really busy. Like,
yeah, there have been times when
I know life can get even busier than what it is right now, but we've gotten pretty busy, and I feel like it's just been trying to find a balance, you know, and I think it slowly has improved over time.
Definitely.
You know,
definitely, but it's like not like that, not like, you know, like that the whole time. So I think like it's interesting how, at least in our experience, like I feel like marriage can like help you, like push you to end up not spending time with God, because you literally have your friend and your spouse right there who's not doing it either, so you guys just get into this habit. But then the amazing thing about God is he convicts both of you, or one of you, you know, and then you kind of push each other to get back into that rhythm. So yeah, that is definitely super helpful. And the church thing too, like just staying consistent with things, because if one of you doesn't want to go, probably the other one does, so then you just end up going like every time. So that's really great too. And I think the other thing for me is like marriage is really hard, and so that has pushed me to spend time with God at times when I haven't been in a good rhythm with him, and I've just been like, I cannot do this without him. And, you know, I recognize those times when I have been trying to do it without him. I've been trying to do it without praying for Delvin on a regular basis, or without just, like, spending time with God on a regular basis. And so it's actually pretty cool to look back and just see, like in a way, marriage forces you to spend time with God, because, like, you have to. Otherwise, disaster.
So what do you guys do actively to keep your marriage fresh and alive?
That is a hard one. But, okay, can you just specify, what do you guys exactly mean by fresh and alive?
Like hobbies that you do together, maybe like together, you go to restaurants, you have a hobby, you watch movies.
So we're not really talking about like the strength of the marriage, we're talking about like the fun of the marriage? Okay, that's what we're talking about.
We plan dates. Not as often as we'd like, but
yeah, we've been working on getting a consistent date night.
We have a date jar.
Yeah, we have a date jar that we put cash in and stuff.
Yeah, and it's decorated. You know, it's
my brother's made it for us.
Yeah,
it's really
cool.
cute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got like this picture of these two little dogs kissing.
It's Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, there you go. And then we put
two
money
little
in
dogs.
there. I don't know. Yeah, we put money in there, and then whenever, I don't know, we feel like we need a date, we'll go in there and go on a date. Yeah. What else do we do?
But we need to work on that though.
Yeah, we've had like paint nights together.
But we need more consistent date nights.
Yeah.
That is a reality.
Yeah.
We do need more. But it is hard with COVID and like, you know, so much at home, you know. So it is kind of hard to keep up with like having nice dates. But sometimes, but I think it's good to also learn how to like call little things dates. Like, oh, we're watching a movie. It's a date, you know what I mean? Like make it
I thought
like
that was
romantic.
weird.
And
I'm not even gonna lie, you know. I was like, what do you mean? We're just watching a movie. But it does make a difference when you like label this as a date, because you're also gonna behave differently.
You're gonna be more intentional.
Yeah, exactly. So that has definitely, I would call those little dates, you know.
Yeah, we should just call them that more often.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I mean, so something we did recently is like, we really love watching TV and movies, but that's kind of a problem because we like it too much. And so one thing that we did in the past couple months was get a lot of board games
Oh yeah.
Because we like playing board games together.
Oh, that was our Christmas gift.
Yeah, we decided instead of like buying each other different Christmas gifts, we would just put all the money towards buying a bunch of board games to grow our collection.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And what else did you get?
What did I get?
The thing you're addicted to.
Oh, way to call me out. We got a Nintendo Switch.
He said it was for us to play games together.
Nah.
No?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, sometimes.
It's true, sometimes. But apparently he's buying more games for us to play together, so you know.
But I mean, we do play games together.
Do we?
Yeah.
Or is it just
what?
when my brothers come over?
What?
When's the last time just you meet? I've
been trying. I've been trying. Listen, we've just been very busy.
Should we ask you about Zelda? Should we ask you about Zelda? Okay, that's what I thought. Zelda's a one-player game.
Nah.
Anyways.
But 2 people can watch.
Anyways. Yeah. The gaming stuff, like in terms of board games or video games, is definitely something I would say we try to do. I think we should do it more often. Yeah. But it's something that we're trying to, do more.
I think we did it. We've been doing a good job. It's just that we've been very busy recently.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Because we have a lot of board games now. We have like a whole
haven't even
shelf.
Played some of them yet.
Yeah, I think we've got like 20, or like any kind of game. Like card games, board games,
strategy games.
Yeah, we've got like 20
of them.
We
don't need to know about all our games. Anyways. So yeah.
Come over.
I think that
we'll all have a date.
A lot of people watch this. Don't tell everybody to come over. Pull up my hair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What does it take from your perspective to have a successful marriage?
Sorry, this is such a... What does it take? All right, ask me in like 10 years. Yeah.
All right, let's get serious here. What it takes for a successful marriage is, number 1, prayer. Because I have definitely seen the impact that can happen when I pray for Delvin and when I don't. And when I am praying for Delvin on a more regular basis, things really change in the good way. And when I'm spending time with God and when he is spending time with God, we are able to be more patient with each other and more kind to each other, open up more even when it's hard. So prayer and just spending time with God and investing in our relationships with him, that is definitely number 1. But another thing is communication, which everybody says, but it's fact. There's no getting around it. And it's something that we were really good at when we were dating, and it's a lot harder when you get married. At least for us, it's very interesting. I think I understand why it is, because now you're with that person all the time. You go to bed together, you wake up together, so there's no like have a hard conversation, then have some separation type of thing. So it's something that we are definitely still learning, and it's a work in progress. But when we do communicate openly and honestly, the way that we did when we were dating, even if things aren't resolved, it just brings so much intimacy, and depth back to our marriage. And yeah, so I think like for me, I would say those are the 2 big ones, like what it takes for a successful marriage, and like just thinking, and I think one thing that Delvin said once, like just remembering that this is a person you're with for life. So like you might as well work on it now, because they're not going anywhere. This is never, we're going to be here forever. And especially, at least for me, thinking about our future kids and like the family that we want to have together, and like what kind of marriage do we want to have in front of them, and in front of people in general that we mentor and that we do ministry with, So I think also, also thinking about the fact that this is marriage is actually not for us, like we didn't get married for us. We really got married because we felt God calling us to get married because of the ministry we could do together. So I think that actually remembering that and remembering why we're doing this helps a lot to actually work on our marriage and not just let things happen. Because when you just let things happen in marriage,
that's a slippery slope, right? 10 years go by and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Not that I know, but, like, this is what I've heard.
I mean, a couple weeks go by, a couple months go by.
Well, yeah, I guess from
like
a couple weeks experience, right? a couple weeks go by and you're like, oh my gosh, how come we haven't talked about this? You know? And then that's when you kind of have to decide, like, what's going to be more important. You know, going out to a certain place tonight, or like actually sitting down and having a conversation about, you know, what's been going on. Right? Because even though life gets busy, you have to put certain things ahead, right? Like your marriage, you're gonna have to put ahead of certain relationships, right? Certain activities, right? Otherwise, like, your marriage is just gonna affect every other part of your life, right?
It does, either way.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, if it's good or it's bad, it affects everything.
Yeah. I think also intentionality is very important. Just being intentional with everything you do. Yeah, because like you can be really lazy. I feel like lazy a lot of the times. But like just being intentional, even spontaneous, just trying. Like I'll have random thoughts sometimes, and I'll be like, yeah, maybe I'll do that today. Like even just flowers, like randomly, you know, being spontaneous, just to make her smile or make her feel good. You know what I mean? Just to let her know that I love her. And it's not, I don't think it's just the flowers. It's the idea that I thought of her today, you know? Because we don't always talk throughout the day, but, you know, the flowers are a gesture saying, hey, you know what? Like, I was thinking about you today. I missed you. I love you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So to close it off, what is the advice you have for young married couples or couples who maybe they want to get married like you guys did earlier and they feel God leading them? What is some advice that you can give?
Definitely seek counsel before you decide on your own. We spent a lot of time praying and fasting
Before we got married.
Before
we got engaged.
Yeah, even before we got engaged, actually, yeah. We spent a lot of time praying and fasting, and we actually prayed that if this is not what God wants, to close the door. You know, if this isn't what He wants, to take this away from us, take this, if God doesn't want us together, let that be, you know. But just be open to, you know, this not being the right thing as well. And what God wants. But also, yeah, just seek counsel and speak to your mentors and just people who you really trust, and if you trust their opinion, of course, but specifically mentors, because everyone's going to have their own opinion. But have a lot of people involved in your relationship. Don't just kind of keep it to yourself as well.
Yeah, that's great advice for before marriage. I think that for married couples, especially like newly married couples, just remember that Satan hates marriage. And so the second you get married, even before when you're engaged, you're going to be under attack. And the amount of spiritual attack that we have experienced since getting engaged is insane. And we haven't always done the best job of addressing it and recognizing it for what it is. It's something that we're really trying to actively work on. Because like Satan literally hates marriage because it is designed to be a picture of God's love for us and the relationship He wants to have with us. And so when you do it right, and when it's good, and when it's centered on Christ, it's beautiful and it's amazing, and it truly is a gift. Like, I so often just look at my life and I'm like, wow, like, thank you, because I could never have seen this, you know, in my future. But once you have it, like, you gotta fight for it and you gotta protect it. You know, you gotta pray, you gotta fight those battles, and you cannot just let Satan have his way, because it's so easy for there to just be like irritability between you, you know, or just not being open, hiding things, just not expressing yourself, you know, not expressing the love that you have for each other. There's so many traps you can fall into. So I would just say, don't just take things as they come. Really pay attention, you know, to the things that you're struggling with and the things that are difficult, and actively work against them. Because I think if you don't do that, you're headed to a failed marriage, really. you know? So, yeah, I think that's the best advice that I could give if you're married or newly married especially. Because I wish that we'd done a better job of that even from like day one, you know? So, yeah.
And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you, Delvin and Karissa. We appreciate everything.
Thank you.
And that's all, folks. We out. I ain't gonna expose. I'm not like that. I'm not a snitch. Virginity. It's a hush hush topic.
Yeah.
They love me. Let's see if your parents raised you.
It's deeper than the physical.
What up, fam? Welcome back to the Juxtaposition, everyone.